progress. Having a hard time connecting today. I don't know how pixelated or discombobulated my face is going to be, but we don't care because we're going to hop right into our subject. Today we're talking about progress. How do you know you're filling the gap between where you are and where you want to be with respect to the spiritual challenge area that you selected to work on this week and apply the soul framework to? That's what we're talking about today. I shared in the Be a Better You annual challenge, I'm doing my connection to source, spirit, higher power, God, whatever you call it. That's mine. And then I had to ask myself this morning, well, how the heck do you measure that? And I'll share how I'm doing it. But I also want to share a little thing that helps me fill the gap between where I am and what I want in any area or aspect of my life. And what I do is I actually write it down. I write down, sometimes I start with, well, what don't I want? What's showing up in my life that I don't like? I'll write those things down, and then I really ask myself, well, what's the opposite of that? Because that's what I want. Then I create my list of wants, and I let go of all of the stuff that I don't want. And I spend all my time and energy focusing on what I do want, the outcome that I want. That's why step one of the process is to say, okay, well, what's my current story? I know I don't want that, or I wouldn't have thought of it. What do I want? And from that point on, we focus on what we want, because everything in the universe will conspire to help us get that. That's just the way universal laws work. What we pay attention to is what shows up in our life. So you might as well pay attention to good stuff, because you want good stuff to show up in your life. If you focus on doubt, worry, fear, bad stuff, that stuff shows up in your life in ways that you can't even imagine. If you focus on love, gratitude, empowerment, enlightenment, curiosity, did I say gratitude? Anyway, if you focus on those things, that's what shows up in your life. More things to be grateful for, more things to love, more, etc. So how do I make sure that those are happening in my life? I focus on them. I visualize them. I affirm them. I recite them out loud. I say them out loud when nobody else is listening, hopefully. And then I write them down. I write them down over and over again. And usually I get rid of those because there's little pieces of paper everywhere in my life otherwise. So how am I going to measure? One of the things I think we need to do as part of step 4 progress is have a way to measure. Find a little bit more concrete way, especially in these subjective areas, to measure whether we're actually moving toward what we want or not. So how will I know? How will I measure it today? Come up with one way, share in the comments below how you'll measure progress toward the spiritual area that you decided to work on. It's going to be different for each of us because we all pick different spiritual growth areas or spiritual challenge areas to work on. I'm going to measure it this way. First and foremost, I'm going to keep track of positive and negative emotions in my mood and my emotions journal. I noticed 2 days ago when my mom left, I actually was in a bad mood for a little bit of the day. And I mean, I could feel it in my body. I could feel it. And I'm like, I don't usually get in bad moods very often. And so I was frustrated that I felt in a bad mood, but I want to track those things. Secondly, I'm going to track my sense of peace and contentment, because when I'm in alignment with who I really am and connected to source, I'm feeling positive emotions. When I'm out of alignment and not feeling connected to God, spirit, source, oneness, the universe, negative emotions pop up and show up for me. That's how it works for me. So those things I want to keep track of. And then I monitor time spent feeling connected weekly. So I'll track it probably every day, but then weekly I'll look at it and I'll monitor it from week to week to week to week between now and the end of the year. So share in the comments below one way you'll know you're making progress, and maybe one way that you'll measure progress in the area that you selected. And maybe you just do it to the end of the month. Maybe you'll do it to the end of the year, depending on how big a thing you selected, whether it's a goal or an improvement area. It's up to you to decide. Make the tool work for you. That's why I share the SOAP framework, is so that you have another tool in your toolbox to help you whenever you need it. And if you practice it enough, guess what? It just becomes automatic. Stuff comes up in my life every single day, and I don't have to go through the SOAP to process it. My brain and my subconscious automatically does that. And if I need to take action or have more thought about it, it'll bring it to my attention, and then I'll deal with it. Boom, done, gone, next, right? Because that's the way life is. All right, if you need help with this, if you've got any questions about the process, if you need any help coming up with, well, how am I actually going to measure this? It's so subjective, I can't think of a way. Just ask, and we'll work on it together. Have an awesome day, and I will, of course, be with you tomorrow.